Hey guys. I'm really excited. This is going to be my first episode that I'm recording on Zoom so you guys can see my face. So let me do my normal intro and then we're going to hop right into it. So, welcome to Stop It, the podcast for women who are done with just surviving and ready to step into the best version of themselves. Hi, I'm Emily Erb, exercise physiologist, health and fitness coach at M's Empowerment Coaching, wife, and proud mom of two amazing boys. So, here's the deal, this is a no judgment zone. Well, except for when it comes to those crappy beliefs about your self worth, your body, and what's possible for you. Yeah, those, we're calling them out hardcore. On this podcast, we'll dive deep into topics like nutrition, fitness, and the mindset shifts you need to get long term success you deserve. But it doesn't stop there. We'll also talk about motherhood, deepening your relationships, and rediscovering who you are. This isn't just about transforming your body, it's about transforming your whole life. Full warning, there will be lots of oversharing and covering very unpopular opinions, but that's what makes this journey so real. So if this sounds like something you want, you've come to the right podcast. Welcome to Stop It. Your transformation starts now. Oh my gosh. So, welcome if you are first listening. I am your host, Emily Erb, and I am just super excited to be here. And a little nervous. Whoa, getting a little nervous over here. Because this is my first time that I am doing this recording. And also going to be posting on YouTube. And yeah, it feels a little scary. It feels a little way out of my comfort zone. Even though I do Zoom meetings quite a bit, but this just feels a little different, and that's okay. I don't know. Just checking out to see how my headphones look. I've never actually seen myself in camera with my headphones. But I'm really excited today because I know that this is one of the biggest mental blocks and barriers for women to achieve the goals that they want, especially when it comes to their body goals. And how do I know this? Well, the last 10 years that I worked at Healthy Weight Management, it's a program where we help people who want to lose weight. There's a surgery side to it, and then there's also a medical weight management side as well. And I was the exercise physiologist. I would help put together exercise plans and do coaching along the way with our patients. And one of the biggest trends that I would see time and time and time again for actually both women and men, but because my program is serving women, I'm just kind of talking more from a woman's point of view, but men also they struggle with this as well. So for example, let me get to it. So I would have patients that would come and they would be super, super excited. They would be all in. They're like, yes, like, it's just too painful for where I'm at right now. I can't take it anymore. I want to start, I want to lose weight. I want to start exercising. I'm like, okay, I love that for you. Yes, like you definitely want to have the commitment. The commitment needs to be there to follow through. And so they would be really excited. I'm like, well, what's your plan? Have you thought about that? And some didn't. I mean, some of my patients felt like they were forced there because their provider recommended, and they really weren't in a space. They weren't ready for it. But the ones that were really excited that they were all in, they'd be like, yes, I have a plan. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to exercise every day because if I don't, then I will lose my motivation and I will just stop because I've done that before time and time again. And they would be like, I'm consistently inconsistent. And for the first probably like half of the time that I was there, I was like, okay, sure. I'm like, you seem really motivated. You're really excited about it. I believe you. I'm here. I'm going to support you. Yeah, let's do it. Then they would ask me some questions and I would give them some suggestions, because the other question they would always ask is, what exercises should I be doing? And me, I'm like, oh, well, here, these exercises are really good. I do not do that anymore. But I was like, yeah, okay, great. I love this for you. And they would come for their follow up a couple months later. I'd be like, oh my gosh, how's it going? You were so excited last time. And they would have so much guilt and shame around this. And they would be so nervous to tell me because they would feel like they were letting me down. And they'd be like, Emily, I did so great. Like, I did so great. I did it. I exercised every day. And then something came up, right? They would give me a whole list of things that would come up. And to be truthful, I'm fixing my microphone here. To be truthful, I don't believe that, okay, some people will say they're excuses, but what I really see them as, it's just life happened, right? Like, okay, you got sick, or your kids got sick, or someone lost a job, or work got extra busy. I don't think those are excuses. I think that's just lifing for you. And but because they had this, they wanted to go right to optimal, right? So they had this vision for themselves of where they wanted to be. And they had this idea that if I would just go right to optimal, which was working out every day, that I would get there faster. And what I started to realize over the next couple years of me encouraging them, yes, do it, I realized it actually wasn't working. It would work until something happened, and then they would slowly just stop until they stopped altogether. And then they would come back in. We'd have a really great talk. They would feel motivated again. They would start to do it again. Life would life, right? Life would happen. And it would just, they would stay in this cycle, right? Of like doing it all, something coming up, stopping for an extended period of time. And then they would get remotivated again, right? We'd have a great conversation, and I realized, I was like, this is insane. Like, this is not working. This is not what people want. People want to be consistent, right? Because we know consistency is how we get change, right? Consistency, consistent behaviors and actions are what's going to give us the things that we want that we don't already have. And so the last couple of years, I started to realize that. And it changed everything, not only for me, but for my patients and then also my clients. And what I realized was that all of my patients, my clients, me, like the last couple years, that we would just automatically go from like this huge pendulum swing where we would be like, I don't care, F it, whatever. This is just who I'm supposed to be. This is easier for everyone else. This is the mom bod that I'm supposed to be in. And you would just create these disempowering stories because you kept doing the same thing over and over again, not getting ahead, just staying in the same cycle loop, right? Of perfection, right? Because that's really what it was. And then burnout, life happens, and then we would just throw our hands up in the air and say, well, this just doesn't work for me, right? Or I just didn't want it enough, or I didn't work hard enough. And then you would create these disempowering stories of yourself, and then you would hang there for a while until your body couldn't take it anymore, right? And then you would jump back up to optimal, right? And you would go right to where you feel like you should be. And it just created, it's like this figure eight. I forget what they call it, but it's literally the cycle of perfection. And your body cannot handle being at optimal like that. And it also can't handle being at the opposite end of it. And so, really, what it was creating, it was just creating this disempowering cycle and also creating this yo yo cycle of like being all in and all out, all in and all out. And it doesn't serve anyone, it doesn't help anyone. Um, and I'm so glad that I realized that. I'm so glad that I finally learned this lesson. And the thing about perfection, it's sneaky. It is so sneaky. I never saw myself as a perfectionist. I never identified as a perfectionist because there were areas in my life that I was like, yeah, I don't care like if this looks like that or whatever. But it is sneaky because it's that it comes up as an all or nothing mindset. And I'm sure a lot of you who are listening have been kind of shaking their heads and you're like, oh no, yeah. Oh wow. Like, I never really saw it that way. And that's why it's so sneaky because some people will, like I've had clients who would wear it as a badge of honor, like I'm a perfectionist. And I do everything perfectly or I won't do it at all. And the way perfection would come up for me, like a lot of my patients and my clients would be going from not doing it to going right to optimal. And as I started to create this picture for you, you're hopefully starting to create some awareness of like, that actually it doesn't work. And you can ask yourself, what kind of success do you want? And a lot of times I would ask that. And I'm like, okay, this is great. I love this for you that you're all in and you want to do it. But what happened last time when you attempted it this way? And because a lot of times patients would say, oh my gosh, yeah, like I went to the gym every day. I loved it. I felt so good, which of course you probably did feel really great. You're not only getting the endorphins from exercise, it helps to elevate your state, which is going to bring up your energy levels. Of course, you felt good. And then you also were taking action towards a goal that you wanted. So your confidence, you were feeling confident in yourself. And so you did, I'm sure you felt amazing. But what would happen when things would come up, right? And you set yourself to start out going right to optimal and doing it every day. And then you would slowly stop, right? It might have turned into, okay, I'm going to do it every day. Then something would come up. And then you would say, well, I'll just do it tomorrow. Tomorrow would then turn into, well, I'll just do it the next day. And then you guys know where I'm going with this. And so, when I would start to create this awareness around them, they would be like, oh, hmm, okay. But they would feel really, really uncomfortable with doing it differently. And this is the difference that I was suggesting to them. And it was something that I have to catch myself too whenever I set a new goal for myself is I have a default setting to go to all or nothing and we all do. Like that's where I always tell people, I'm like, listen, you are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. There is nothing wrong with you. And it's just really how our brains are wired. Our brains are wired to think in extremes. And to put it simply, it's because our brains are wired for survival. And if you've heard me talk about scarcity mindset, that's essentially what it is. It's wired for us to stay in our comfort zone, which our brain sees as safe. So I tell people this all the time. I'm like, even though you don't love where you're at right now, right? When we have goals and when you have goals and you want something that you don't already have, right? Which would be a goal, you have to step outside of your comfort zone. And when we start doing new things, our brain actually sees that as a threat to our survival. Now, logically, we know that me going to the gym for the first time, if that's a goal of mine or yours, right? If your goal is to start maybe tracking your macros, or maybe it's going to the gym or doing an at home workout, or maybe it's drinking more water, maybe it's increasing your protein, whatever it is. And you start doing it, your body is going to see that as a threat to your survival, which we know logically, like you increasing your protein is not going to kill you, right? There is no threat, but our brain cannot decipher between the two. And it can't decipher between like a physical threat and a growing, like you wanting to expand and grow. And so this is where I want to make that so clear is that you are not broken. You do not need to be fixed. You just need to rewire your brain, guys. That's that simple. That's simple. And that's honestly, that's the messy work that I talk a lot about. That's the hard work that is required. It actually, the hard work isn't what we think it is. I think so many people have this belief system that if they just worked harder, they would be more successful. If they just worked harder or had more motivation or wanted it more, they would get their dream body or whatever goals they are. It doesn't even have to be health related. It could be business related. It could be, with your relationships. It could be whatever it is. Um, but do you understand how that's going to be a conflict for you? Right? If you have this belief that you just have to work harder, who's really going to want to do that? Right? And is it actually 100% true? Because I know a lot of people who work really, really hard. I know a lot of people that get up early, that go to the gym every day, have been doing it forever, that are, you know, getting in their protein and doing all the things, and they don't have the results that they truly want. And so I know that that belief is actual crap. It really is. And it was a belief that I have been super intentional with letting go in all areas of my life, not just in my health and fitness, but also in my relationships and also in my business. Because for me, yes, I want to continue creating my business and serving you and helping women step into the best versions of themselves and hit their body goals without restriction and feel confident in their bodies and in themselves and trust themselves and to have freedom from food without guilt and shame and have more energy to do the things that they really want to do and not have to miss out on anything. And so, but I had this belief that if I was going to create this business, that I was going to have to work really hard and that I was going to have to sacrifice a lot of time with my family. And that was a belief that was actually really keeping me back, because that's not really what I wanted. I wanted to serve, I wanted to create this business, but not at the cost of my relationships with the people that mattered most, especially my kids and my husband. And so, that was something that I have really challenged myself in to let go of that belief, because it's actually not really true. And it's not true for you either when it comes to your health and your fitness and body goals that you have. Because the thing is, you can probably look at a lot of people in your life and see, like, dang, they work so hard. They're doing like all these things. They're putting so much time in the gym. They're getting protein in, and it's like, why don't they have what they really want? And so it's honestly not a matter of working harder. It's a matter of getting to the root of it and figuring out what beliefs are you running on? Are they serving you or not? And who do you identify as? Right? That's a big one too, because if you see yourself as lazy, right? And I've had patients tell me that and clients tell me that. They're like, well, I just don't work out because I'm just like really lazy. And well, that makes sense to me because if you identify as someone who's lazy, would that person go and probably exercise? No, probably not. Right. But if you see yourself as an athlete, right? What do athletes do? What actions do they do if they view themselves as an athlete? They exercise, right? And that's one of the ways that I identify as I identify as an athlete. I'm not saying a professional one, but I see myself as an athlete. And so it's very easy for me to be consistent with my exercise because that's how I see myself. And I'm not saying that it's not hard to get up in the morning. I mean, I slept in today. I got my period. I was like, it was just a bloody mess. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to lay in bed for a little bit. I'm going to read my book and then I'll head to the gym after I get the kids on the bus. And I did that. And it was totally fine. Totally fine. I pivoted, I went out of my routine, but it was totally fine. And so, I know I kind of went a little off course and all over the place a little bit, but this is the conversations that I have with people. And it seems like I've gotten a lot of great feedback from just kind of talking and not having anything scripted. Guys, I have zero notes. The only thing that was scripted was me reading my intro. But that's it. So Anyways, let's get back to perfection because this was the conversation that I really wanted to have was what is it costing you, right? What is it costing you? It's probably costing you a lot. And it's sneaking in very different ways for you that you're probably not even aware of, that you haven't been aware of. And so I would really encourage you to start thinking about how is perfection, or we could also say all or nothing. I think more people can relate to that. And just ask yourself, it's like, okay, well, when I know I want to do something, and most honestly, all of us know the things that the action steps that we need to take to get to where we want to go. That's really not the problem. But what the problem is how we get there. And ask yourself, okay, what's an action step that I know that I want to take? And did you hear me say want, not need? I'm very intentional with the words that I use because when you use the words as need and should, it's very needy energy and it's automatically going to give you this wall of resistance, right? So think about when you would have a class, right? You could be in high school, college, whatever it is. And there was a class that you just didn't like at all. And you felt like you just needed to do the stuff, right? It's like, "Oh, I hate this class and I need to do my homework, or I need to do this project, or I need to write a paper." And it was so hard for you to do it, right? I mean, you would eventually get it done unless you were just like, F it, I don't care about the consequences. But I'm assuming you probably did, but it was really hard for you to do it. But then I want you to think about a class that you really loved, right? And it didn't feel like work for you. And so whenever you were doing anything with that class, it was super easy for you because you wanted to, right? You were coming from a place of want and desire versus need and should. And so when you can show up in a place with energy that's coming from desire and want, it changes everything. It changes everything in the way you show up for yourself. So if you find yourself saying, I need or I should, okay, you're going to be shoulding all over yourself. Okay. And I used to do that all the time. I would should all the time, shoulding on myself all the time. LOL. And, but it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work because it's already going to create this resistance because you feel like you need to or you should. And so, as you're trying to figure out, okay, what are some action steps that you want to take that is required of you to get to where you want to go, you can practice coming from a place of, no, I want to do this, right? I want to do this. I want to start exercising. I want to start tracking my macros. I want to start to increase my protein because dot, dot, dot. That's a really important part. That's for a whole other episode that we can go into. But having your big why, having a big outcome goal is vital. Having a dream, a vision that feels enticing, that gets you so excited, that makes you feel alive and aligned. That's a really important part, right? That is super, super important. So that will help you come from a place of want and desire, right? When you are feeling like, I don't really feel like working out today. I don't really feel like tracking my macros today. But then you ask yourself, you're like, well, what do I really want? And is this action going to help me get there? And if you have a very, very strong pull towards your vision, towards your dream, it's going to be a lot easier for you to show up. So, with that being said, I want you to start to think about how is all or nothing coming up for you, manifesting for you, right? When you want to do something and you decide you're all in, which guys, I love the commitment. I think that's important. I think it's super important to have the commitment. That doesn't mean so you can be 100% committed to something, and it doesn't mean that you're going right to optimal. And that's because that's where we're living in that all or nothing mindset, that scarcity mindset. You're either all in or you're all out. Guys, it doesn't work. You will never have long term success if you continue with the belief system that you have to be all in and go right to optimal. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. You will stay in the same cycle of doing it, not doing it, and not doing it. And guys, isn't that the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh gosh, damn, Emily, how are you in my head? It's because that was me. That was me for so long until I hit my pain threshold that I could not do this anymore. I was like, this is draining me. This is insane. It's costing me so much, especially not only my energy or my mental energy, it was costing me my relationships with my kids and Big Kev. And I just was like, no, I can't do it anymore. I drew a line in the sand. You guys probably will hear me say that a lot, but it's true. I think that's where we get to where we just can't take the pain anymore. And it really encourages us to grow. So I want you first steps is to start to create some awareness and see what's happening. How is all or nothing showing up for you? And it could be in all areas of your life, right? It's like, well, what's $10? Or, well, I ate three cookies. So that means I just ruined the rest of my day. So that means that I can just kind of eat whatever and then I'll start over on Monday and it's Wednesday, right? Can anyone relate to that? Or I don't have time for my 60-minute workout. So then what's the point? I did that all the time for my runs. That's going to be another episode. I want to talk about cardio. But I was a hardcore cardio bunny and I would run every day, pretty much every day. Now, this is before I had kids. And so I would run 6 to 7 times a week. And because I physically could run 5 miles, I felt like I needed to run 5 miles every time I ran. So that was like my minimum. 5 miles. And then there were days that I had more time. And so I could physically run 7, 8, 9, 10. And so I was probably averaging like 55 miles in a week for years. And it was because I had this belief that one, I had to do it every day or I would gain weight. And two, it was like, well, because I can do it, I should be doing it. It was just a really, really unhealthy approach with exercise. I totally overdid it. And so I want you just to kind of see how is that coming up for you, right? And when you start to create this beautiful awareness around it, I want you to start to question it, right? Question that belief. Like, is that really true? Like, is that really true? If I don't have 60 minutes, then what's the point, right? Is is 60 the only amount of time that I can work out that will give me the results that I want? Right. And instead of comparing all to nothing, you can start to compare to what you can actually do to nothing. Right. So if you don't have time for the 60 minutes, and guys, listen, I'm not telling you need to work out for 60 minutes. My workouts are, I do one 60-minute run a week with the girls. And then all my other workouts are between 30, sometimes even 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes, if that. So I just want to make that a full disclosure. I am not telling you you need to work out every day for an hour. Okay. And so, but let's say, okay, you don't have the hour. Ask yourself, well, what could you do? What are some other options that you could do? Because a lot of times we think that there's only two options. It's either the 60 minutes or none at all. And we know that's actually not true. There's always so many more options that we can do. But because our brains are wired for all or nothing, the thinking in extremes, this will be a challenge for you. This is the messy work. This is actually the hard work that's required. So it's actually not required of you to physically work harder or do more. The hard work is for you to do things that you haven't done before, like doing something where I don't have 60 minutes, but guess what? I have 20 and I could do a workout at home. That is the hard work because that is probably so uncomfortable for you. If you are so used to going to, I'm just using the gym for example, if you're so used to going to the gym and doing a workout for 60 minutes and then something comes up and you don't have the full 60 minutes, and you're not used to pivoting in that area. And guys, I'm just using exercise as an example. Take it and run with it in other areas. But that probably will feel really uncomfortable for you. And you know why I know that? Because it was so uncomfortable for me. Oh my gosh. I would spend so much freaking mental energy on if I couldn't get in my full workout. And then I would have this like internal debate the whole freaking day. And then I would just have so much guilt and shame that I ended up not doing anything at all because I had this belief that it's like, what's the point? But then logically, I was like, yeah, but I have some time. And it just mentally freaking drained me. Mentally freaking drained me. So now I have this beautiful new belief that perfection isn't required. Perfection is not required at all in my health and fitness journey, nor is it for you. I encourage everyone, instead of bringing A plus effort to their health and fitness journey, bring B minus. B minus will get you to the things that you want. I promise you that because listen, I bring B minus effort all the time when it comes to my health and fitness journey. Now, I would say obviously there's some days that I might be more closer to optimal and there's going to be some days that I'm just like bare minimum. Bare minimum. And I have bare minimum goals for everything in my life because I know I can't always be at optimal, and that's okay because perfection is illusion. It does not exist. Perfection is something that is not attainable. And it's been driven in women, I think, because of just societal beliefs, right? Like, think about when women were expected to stay at home and raise the family, right? And then we had like equal rights, which is fantastic. I love that for us. And I love that then there was a push to have women get involved in the workforce, which was great. But then we also had the societal belief that we then had to still manage everything at home. So it's like, okay, we're now in in the workforce, we're having a career, we're having our own identity outside of motherhood, but then we're also expected to keep doing everything at home. And it's like, it was exhausting. And I understand how a lot of women are burnt out. And it's just not sustainable. It just isn't. And so, my best advice to you guys is to just start creating this awareness because awareness is more than half the work. Awareness is everything because 95% of the decisions we make are from the subconscious part of our brain. Is that crazy? Like all of the things that you are doing on a daily basis, most of them is automatic. You don't even have to think about it. Think about when you drive a car, right? If you have been driving a car for years, you don't think about, okay, I have to go and I have to put my pedal, or my foot on the brake pedal to start my car. And then I have to look in the camera or the mirrors and then I have to put my car in reverse. No, you're not thinking about that. It's just automatic. Our brain does that survival because think about when we use the logical part of our brain when you're working on a big project or you're creating something, you're learning something new, you're using your frontal part of your brain, which requires more energy. And so our brain is really smart. So once it learns things and it's like, okay, we get rewarded for that, we're going to store it in our subconscious part of our brain, and then we're just going to keep moving. And so I want you to start to think about and create this awareness of like, oh my gosh, like, how am I making these decisions without even being aware? And a really great question you can ask yourself when you feel stuck, when you feel overwhelmed, ask yourself, okay, how am I limiting my options? How are my options limited right now? And what other options are there? Where's option C in this? Where's option D? Where's option E, F? Guys, there's always more than one option. So start there. Start creating this beautiful awareness of how all or nothing or perfectionism is showing up in your life, how you're going right to optimal versus achievable, and how you can step outside of your comfort zone and start setting more achievable small goals along the way to build up that consistency, to build that habit, right? To build that new belief that then can get you to optimal, right? That doesn't mean you always have to be at optimal. I'm not always at optimal, but that's what you're really looking for, right? Most people come to me and they struggle with consistency, right? It's like, all right, I was doing so well. I was on a diet. I was actually talking to a woman yesterday And she said, "Yeah, I did keto. I felt so great." She called it healthy keto. I wasn't quite sure what healthy keto meant. I could have probably asked. And so she's like, "I felt so great. It was awesome." And then she put her weight back on. Why? Because keto is not sustainable. Keto has so many rules and so many restrictions, and it's not something that someone can sustain for life. It just doesn't work. And so, yeah, it works until it doesn't, right? And it's this idea that we have to restrict ourselves, right? We have to cut out all foods that we label as bad. And it just keeps us in this yo yo dieting cycle, this all or nothing. I'm either all in on my diet and I'm not eating any foods that I label as bad. And then you can only do that for so long. Talked about that already, right? We can only, our brain, our nervous system can only handle that for so long. And then we go to the whole other end of it, right? It's this big pendulum swing. And so this is where I want you to know too that you're not doing anything wrong. You're just using a strategy that isn't going to give you what you want. That's all it is. And this, I say this with so much love and compassion because I've said this to myself, I've said it to clients, I say it to as many people as I can because I think this is, I know this is going to be really empowering for you. But I want to make sure I'm saying this with a lot of love and compassion is that yes, we as women and men, listen, I want to make sure you guys all know I love men. I am married to a wonderful man. I have two beautiful boys. And so even though I'm specifically serving women, that doesn't mean that like I trash men and I don't think they have a place. I think they absolutely do. It's just something that I niche down to that I can relate more to women. And so but what I want you, and I don't even know why I just said that. Guys, this is unscripted here. Unscripted. This is what you wanted. Just kidding. Um, I really actually just lost my train of thought. Oh, here we go. Back to it. So, beliefs, yes. So, I'm saying this with so much love and compassion is that the societal beliefs that have been put on women, which I know men have them too, but we're just talking here with women, is that they have been really crappy, especially around our body, what we should look like, our self worth, the things that we should be doing, what we were taught. They have been really crappy. I'm going to be honest. Okay. Super crappy beliefs. And the thing is, they are not your fault. The crappy beliefs that have been put on you by society, by people that you love and trusted, they are not, it's not your fault. But this is where the love and compassion come in. Okay. It is your fault if you continue to hold on to them. Okay. So they are, it's not your fault that you have them, but it is your fault if you continue to have them, especially the ones that are really crappy that are not serving you. So I just want you to know I say that with so much love and compassion. It's something that I say to myself and to my clients because it's true, right? Like we were children and we just, a lot of these beliefs weren't even ours. We probably just heard them, right, from different outlets. Like, I mean, I think about, I'm a millennial and I think about the magazines that I used to read and the covers that I would see. And it was always about women and their bodies and, oh, this one gained all this weight and she's crazy. And I even think about like, poor Britney Spears. And then like you see other ones about, oh, look how she lost all this weight and they like glamorize her and everything. So yeah, just really crappy beliefs. And one of them, unfortunately, is this idea of perfection. Even though a big part of it, though, again, where brains are wired that way as well. So there's a lot of stuff that are going on. And so that's why I want you to remember that you're not broken. You don't need fix. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just start to create some really great awareness around your current belief system and start to see how all or nothing is coming up for you and start to get comfortable being uncomfortable, not going right to optimal. And you guys, listen, I've had so many, I mean, years and years and years of consults with my patients when we'd have these conversations, and they would be like, no, it's this, I can do it. Like, and it doesn't, you're like, yes, you're using your logical part of your brain. So yes, when you're thinking about it, when you set goals, yes, logically it all makes sense. But then when you're actually doing things, you got, remember, your subconscious part of your brain is making 95% of your decisions. So it's going to feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. The best part about it is the more you do it, the more messy action you take, the more small steps that you take going outside of your comfort zone and doing things differently. So instead of setting a goal of I'm going to exercise every day to I'm going to exercise 2 to 3 times a week, right? It's going to feel uncomfortable for you because you're so used to going right to optimal. So that is the uncomfortable part. But the more that you practice doing it, the more that it then becomes part of your new belief system, the more that it is part of your comfort zone. And then it just isn't so hard anymore. Then the best part is then you get another layer of growth, right? Once you work through one limiting belief, another one pops up. But that's a beautiful place to be because when you're growing, you're thriving and it feels good. And so, and honestly, as you grow too, your problems become better quality, right? You're once you get a handle on things with your health and fitness around like food, something as simple as like you can go out to dinner and order food without fear, or you can celebrate your kid's birthday party without having fear. That's something that's been coming up a lot. That I hear a lot of women, they're like stressed about celebrating their kid's birthday party. And I'm like, I mean, think about what's that's costing them. That's costing them a lot, right? Are they really able to enjoy it because they're so um, worried and have so much fear around food? And so, yeah, just start to like just create this awareness, see what's happening, see how you're eliminating your options. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, and it's going to be a really beautiful place for you to start. So, guys, I have no idea how long this was. I'm just kind of winging it here. But what I wanted to say is that I also created a workshop because I felt so passionate at my launch party. I did a workshop about perfection. And so then I came home and I was like, okay, I need to get this out to everyone. And so I then created a workshop. About perfectionism. So I go a little bit deeper and I cover some of the similar things too, but repetition is the mother of all skills. That is another thing that's going to help you rewire is just repetition, repetition, repetition. So I know that my workshop will serve you even after listening to this. It would be a great follow up. So you can head over to my socials, M's Empowerment Coaching. I have a link in there. And then I believe it's ditch ditch perfection. I know I should really know the title of it. I think I changed the title so many different times because I was just filling it out. But it will be in there in my link in the bio. And then I'm also going to see, because I'm going to be posting this on YouTube, I'm going to see if I can post the link in there and then also on Spotify as well. And if you can't find it, guys, just reach out to me. You can reach me at M's Empowerment Coaching. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. And then if you know me personally, you can always reach out to me personally. And I also have my email, empowered coaching 23 at Gmail. So you can always reach me there. So, yeah. So I know that this served you because this information has served me in so many different areas, especially how perfection was coming up for me. And so I would love to hear your feedback. You can post on my this YouTube here that I'll be doing, or on Spotify, or let me know your thoughts. And I would love to hear them. And if you feel like this episode resonated for you, please share this. I want women to hear this and just to create awareness and have them start to think about what is it costing them to stay in this perfection loop, right? Of all or nothing, all or nothing. Okay. So I'm going to end with my favorite saying of life is happening for you. I truly believe that because I really believe life is rigged in your favor to win. And I cannot wait to see you guys back again next week for another episode. And I hope you guys just have a fantastic day. And I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me. And I'm going to continue doing it, even though it might feel a little uncomfortable for me. This is me, and I'm showing you how I take steps and how I just have gotten really comfortable being uncomfortable. So there it is. Have a fantastic day, and hopefully, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.